understand I got a lot on my mind, a lot on my chest.
Right, what's going on, everybody? Lloyd Jones with Midnight Comics, and your host for the Indie Breakdown, the show where we break down your favorite comic book characters' power, stats, and abilities, and get them ready for an indie versus matchup. Today, we are finishing what we started with yesterday, with the semi-final matchup. We were a little low energy yesterday. We were a little low energy coming off of a very, very, very busy weekend. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and make sure we get this shared in the group proper. Bless you. Let's get this shared in the group proper here really quick. Boom, boom. Yeah. So once we get 100 people on the Indie Breakdown versus page, not group, page, we can go live from the group proper instead of having to go live in the Midnight Comics one and then share and stuff like that. So if you guys are watching from the Midnight Comics side of things, please, please, please follow that. Follow that. Hold on just a second. Gray versus Black Bat and Heartline Menace versus Gaggle. All right. So there we go with that. Boom. And I might be echoing. I'm out of the tourney, but I'm watching. Well, I appreciate that, Casey. We had Sledge earlier in the tournament. Now, thank you for participating. As always, guys, that's the most important part, is participating, getting that visibility up for your characters, and informing people about what your characters have to offer, man. Like that's the important thing. So ideally, hopefully you got some fans out of those matches, man. People better understand your character, and they're just excited to see what your story is about and all of that good stuff. So that's the important stuff. I don't think I really have any housekeeping this go around. Be on the lookout, because when we finish the tournament proper, we'll talk about the goal and mission of when we did these exhibition matches and tournaments, and we will rediscuss what we're doing to redefine power scaling in the indie world. And we'll re-go over the tier system that we have created, and we will, of course, go about discussing the power stat system that we will be utilizing. And then, when all of that is said and done, we will reopen the database. That is y'all's opportunity to flood the database with characters. I want all tiers of characters in here, so that when we go back to doing Nexus matches, when we go back to doing Reckoning matches, I want to see what you guys drop, man. I want to see more amazing indie characters that are out there, man. I want us to create the database, the indie database. So if there's ever a character that anybody wants to learn more about, we want to be able to host that so that people can get to know your characters and get to your websites and support your stories and projects in the future. So all of that dives right back into the importance of you guys sharing your characters all throughout the week and discussing, what they can do, the inspirations behind the character, their powers, their, stats and abilities. All of that is very important. So again, more people can see and fall in love with the characters and worlds that you guys are building. So anyway, more on that once the tournament is over. We're going to dive into the matches. We have gone in order of comments. So we got the lowest traffic matches out of the way. We are now getting ready to dive right into Grave by Dre Burke versus Black Bat by Deadly Adventures of Power Gang. So the location is going to be the Precipice, as all of these matches have been. The Precipice is a location created by Ahmad Kumasi, who is a very prominent member here in the group, who has showcased a lot of his characters, and of course, namely the Precipice as well, and allowed us to use it for the tournament. He has dropped explanations in regards to what that is, and also the original tournament post. We dropped exactly what this place is. So if you want to learn more, definitely look at those old posts or just reach out to Ahmad, and I'm sure he'll be glad to tell you what all of that is about. There is no risk. There are no worries in regards to civilians or anything like that. So we're solid there. There is no outside help. So no, you can't call in the Justice League to come and save your behind. That is a wrap. If it's not an ability that is innate to you, it does not work. This is by fan vote and best explanation win. So popularity vote, while we're talking about it, popularity vote goes to Black Bat with 20 and Grave with 11. So we are going to see if the popular vote is able to win via the best explanation. Now, I have gotten questions, comments, concerns in regards to what exactly do we mean by best explanation, and I always go and revert to the example of what I did during the main show of the Indie Breakdown, where this all started. So we're going to share that tab really quick. I'm not asking for you guys to put actual lines of dialogue, and I suppose it would be good if I actually put what's up. Um, I'm not asking you guys to put dialogue, right? But if it's like, hey, Jupiter Man senses a strange energy and begins to follow the trail. You know what I'm saying? Like, she looks around frustrated in a pile of machinery and debris, breathing heavy, having decimated so many of the security bots. If we can get you guys to explain the best possible outcome for your character while taking the opponent's character into consideration, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I mean by best explanation wins. Of course, again, you could visit midnightcomics.org to look at the season 1, 2, and 3 matches that I did and explanations that I have in regards to my verdict into those characters, why they would win, how the other one would lose, blah, 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 blah. Right. So, enough on that. We can discuss that at further length later. Let me go ahead and go about resharing my screen. I did not mean to close that. All right, so let me get that loaded back up. We are starting with Grave versus Black Bat. Spiff, what is going on, brother? What is going on? Yes, after this match of Grave versus Black Bat, we are finally at the long-awaited matchup. A lot of good conversation between Heartline Menace and Gago. 177 comments. We may or may not go through all of those. If we get our answer prior to, we'll do like we did yesterday, and kind of move forward. But same thing here. We're going to go in order in the amount of comments. We have 71 comments on this one versus the 177 comments on the other one. So we'll start from lowest, work our way up. But let's learn more about these characters and then see if we got an explanation. If we do not have an explanation, well, then we are going to try to piece it together ourselves. If I am echoing in the least bit, please let me know. If the audio is messed up, let me know a little earlier on so that we know to go ahead and get that sorted out before we run into any issues. Because, of course, this is going live on the YouTube channel as well. So if you guys haven't had the opportunity to follow, subscribe rather to that, you will see all of the previous season's episodes, the shorts, the breakdowns, all of that other good stuff. Of course, if you visit indiebreakdown.com, all of that stuff will be there as well for you to check out. So please take the time, check those things out. Um, yeah, and let's make sure that we continue, one, redefining power scaling in the world, but two, supporting one another and helping you guys get the visibility that you deserve so that others can fall in love with the projects that you guys are working on. So without further ado, thank you guys. That I hope allowed a little bit more time for folks to get in here, so that they could be a part of the discussion in regards to who would win this indie versus matchup between Grave and Black Bat. So let's dive into it. So, of course, as stated previously, we have Grave, who's a character by Dre Burke, who has quite a plethora of characters within the database. Definitely check all those out. And then we have Black Bat, Deadly Adventures of Power Games character. So a little bit more about Grave. His name is Derek Carnahan, 37 years old, nationality white. He is 6'1", 215 pounds. Powers and abilities: enhanced strength, speed, and reflexes, capable of jumping 3.5 stories, run at speeds of 55 miles per hour, 75 if blood lusted. So a little bit of a difference, depending on the mood of the character. I dig it. 1 second. Let me pull something up really quick. Boom. I want to make sure that it actually did go live on the. It did. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so we just talked about his capability of jumping and running. So capable of tearing through brick walls, resistant to mind control, can place a cursed object or a cursed mark on any weapon or object that can hurt the supernatural or affect supernatural items or elements, and can see spirits, apparitions, and astral projections. can hurt them as well. He's a master in armed and unarmed combat, proficient in all weapons and firearms, master tactician and strategist due to extensive special forces training and CIA training. He's an expert swimmer. Uh, he has a curse that bonds his soul and mind to a Mexican cartel leader that he killed, and allows him to heal from all forms of wounds, regardless of damage. He has dual minds, so getting like Hopebreaker feels in regards to the dual minds and stuff, or two beings inhabiting the same body, if you would. Um, Here's in Juan Reyes, aka Malvado. Reyes' side is extremely rich, master disguise, master marksman, expert with throwing knives, computer hacker, math genius, expert in brujeria, I think, brujeria. He speaks 15 different languages, can act on his own in a capacity, so he can touch things, but only 10 meters in all directions from there. He can punch people or grab them or items as well, or drain their astral essence slash soul and leave beings in a comatose state. Any being he kills is trapped by Malvado. Ooh, so I'm getting Katana's blade type situations, right? Um, Next up, Dre states that he carries a wide variety of weapons. He has two 12-inch serrated blades behind his lower back. He has two chrome Desert Eagles, one on each leg, Dawn and Dusk, I like it, and an M4 with a 203 grenade launcher on his back, and a bat with nails in it, and a chrome brass knuckles. All right, Jackson Creator says that he is voting for Grave. Now, we do have Deadly Adventures of Power Gang stating so others downplay Black Bat a lot. So I put together extreme facts about Black Bat and his abilities since I've joined the group. Some things changed from the original idea till I had actual pages. All right, so let me see. It looks like we have some previous posts about his origin story. So Black Bat, whose superpowered mother was taken advantage of, bitten and died, giving birth to Dracula's son. Due to his mother's super, he is a living vampire, meaning their strengths but not their weaknesses. Black Bat was, so he gets their strengths and not their weaknesses. Black Bat was born an orphan, discovering his thirst. He left the orphanage and joined a street gang. Hashtag power gang. In his regular form, super strength, speed transforms into a wolf and missed claws strong enough to cut titanium, hypnotizing radar hearing ears. Okay. In his bat form, once he tastes blood, depending on the host, depends on his strength. Let me say that again. Hold on. In his bat form, once he tastes blood, depending on the host, I'm assuming depending on who he's taking blood from, his strength will take his strength from the average person to super strength. He's got flight. He can control bats. He has a silent roar that can destroy buildings. He has invulnerability, and uh, he can heal as he feasts. And he has super radar. His only weaknesses is sensitive to light, while in form, once changed, stays in form for 3 days. So once he transforms, he's in that form for the next 3 days. He is an anti-hero. Enemies and villains have clashed with heroes, but the world's online. He is an ally. Okay. Let me close that out. We got a little bit more information. Where he stated, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Black to the bat. Okay, but he's the son of Dracula, Prince of Transylvania. He grew up in an orphan, and eventually joined a street gang. Hashtag Power Gang. The gang has its I'm assuming sets its sights on trying to take over, or I guess just set on trying to take over the streets of Big City. He's basically the muscle of Dracula and his street gang. He is as fast as a falling star. Strong as 20 men. He's got hypnosis. He can turn to mist. He's got solar hearing. He can control wolves. And this is a lot of stuff that we read just a second ago, but it might have gotten lost in the sauce just now, so we just got to go over it one more time. His claws can cut through steel, titanium. Other form has strength depending on who the host was. That I'm not quite understanding. Um, I'm not quite understanding what we're saying with that. But super strength, he's super tough. Indestructible claws, silent roar, silent roar that can destroy mountains. Solar hearing, flight, can regenerate as he feasts on blood. And if he has the king's blood crown, he can basically control and manipulate blood. But that is an if. right? So we can't quite say because we don't quite see an explanation about that. But we'll go a little further through what's going on here. Bear with me just a second. All right. So I wanted to show the one. All right. So he said, I wanted to show the only thing I've changed since the creation and publication. I've changed about is instead of turning into a wolf, I'm assuming he can control wolves. And second reason is that the Blood King. No. And the second reason is that the Blood King crown, which he got in the Crossworlds comic, dropped in December 2024. So it's that if now he does just wield that. Okay. And then there's that. And then here's I guess, a supposed maybe home field advantage is that he has been in the precipice. I remember him stating that he has a bit of experience there based on what took place in this crossover story. So next up, Dre goes in and says explanation of abilities. So his enhanced strength, he's able to lift roughly 20 tons, and we're talking about Grave right now. He has enhanced speed, able to run up to 75 miles per hour, enhanced agility, able to leap 3.5 stories, master acrobat, enhanced reflexes, able to dodge various caliber gunfire at point blank range, can effortlessly tear through solid brick and certain metals. He's resistant to mind control due to separate souls, that is magical in nature. Curse Mark is capable of making anything he comes into contact with able to kill supernatural beings and capable of negating healing factors. We gotta go over that again. Wait a second. He is capable. He has a curse mark. He is capable of making anything he comes into contact with be able to kill is he capable of making anything he comes into contact with able to kill supernatural beings and capable of negating healing factors. Okay, can see and sense supernatural beings in contact, interact, and harm or kill them. Master of multi forms of unarmed and armed combat, including but not limited to blades, guns, melee weapons. Oh, he said made it this time. What's going on, Dre? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Melee weapons and other projectile-based weapons. He's a master tactician and strategist, and he's able to use the environment to his advantage. He's an expert swimmer and pilot. Curse bonds his essence to malevolent spirit. He has an extreme healing factor, being a wraith slash ghoul, and he's a master marksman, expert at throwing objects. And some of these things we went over already. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Brujeria, via evil spirit, various occult magics. Malvado is that spirit that's behind him, so he can act independently in all directions up to 10 meters from Grave, can touch, harm, move objects, acts as a shield and trap, and can drain the life essence of beings it grabs and can trap their souls. If drained, can feel sluggish and tired, and if drained for long periods of time, can be placed in a comatose-like state. So I'm getting Deadly Adventures of Power Gang said, I'm going to get very much in detail this round for no underestimation. So he goes into a little bit more detail. And again, some of this information we have already gone over. So bear with us because we just want to make sure that we hammer this stuff in. So his name is Mark Pollard. His age is 30. He is an enforcer in the Power Gang, changing a neighborhood gang to an international threat. He's also the Prince of Transylvania after conquering it with Dracula as a general in his army. Powers: he can change into mist, fast as a falling star, meaning when he moves, it looks like a falling star because of his blurry, because he's blurry and he moves at 170 miles per hour. Claws sharp enough to cut titanium. He has hypnosis, sonar hearing, can control wolves. He's strong as 20 men or 2.5 tons. Second depends on who he bites. He could gain extra powers depending on the host. That's the further description that I needed. So depending on who he bites, he can gain that extra power. Invulnerability, which could be a problem, right? Just straight up invulnerable. Invulnerable to what? I am curious, or is it just everything, right? Super strength, he's got 50 tons, which I have questions, right? Because we got, I guess that's lifting strength. Durability strength. Because we have strongest 20 men, 2.5 ton team, and then we have super strength, 50 tons. So I would need a little bit more clarification on that. Silent roar, roar string enough to level mountains, which we talked about. Flight as exactly like a bat. They don't soar using wind. They use actual muscle. So their flight is like none other creature. They can maneuver way better. Sonar hearing and bloodthirst as he drinks blood in form he heals. He also is in possession of the Blood King's crown. This gives him the ability to control blood. All he has to do is pierce your skin for control, and it allows him to shoot mystical energy from his hands with power-ups. Alright. The crown, charge up the blast. Okay. Alright, I'm assuming this is him right here. Excuse me. Okay. And then here's the crown. Okay. King Blackbat. Okay. Let's dive into the personality a little bit here. So we've got a clean-cut killer, and we're talking about Grave right now. When he transforms, he is stronger, a monster, bet. Okay, got you. And welcome in. So yeah, since you guys are both here, of course, I will be asking for further clarification when possible. And if I incorrectly or if I'm not understanding a particular ability or power, please further explain it to me. I will be happy to retract whatever statement and adjust based on what information or intel I am provided in that moment. Now, both of these matches can take a while to discuss. Obviously, I'm going through each of these comments. If I do cut it short, not the video as a whole, but in regards to discussing or going through each of the comments, if I feel like I have all the information I need to come up with a determination, I will do so because I know it's already 8:35 Eastern Standard Time and people got to go to work in the morning. So I don't want to hold you guys up in any real shape, form, or fashion here. So let's get back to it. Back to Grave, of course. So clean-cut killer, he leaves little to chance as his murderous intent can be amplified from the curse spirit whispering to him. He's a sound mind, but doesn't hesitate to end others. Makes a living by hunting, killing supernatural, and plans for battles, and is extremely well at improvisation. He is a gritty man who doesn't shy from damage, but will avoid it if possible. He rather keeps his distance until it's not an option any longer. P.S. The comparable strength and speed of Black Suit Spider-Man with the mindset and mannerisms of Punisher and Jason Todd with a body similar to the Crow and Jason Voorhees. Continued, Malvado acts more like the Batman who laughs, with a sick fetish to prolong pain as much as possible. And then Super Bastion at Universe Heroic says, now that made him more interested. Jorge Winter says, Black Bat, silent roar, flight, and ability to turn into mist may give him an edge, depending on how they can be used, simultaneously and at will. Now here we go. This is what I'm looking for. We want to know, Deadly Adventures of Power Gang, do you have a plan how Black will get a Biden to go monster mode? Yeah, if you're still in here, you know what I'm saying? Clarify that. Hopefully you have that already in here. And again, even if you guys post an explanation in the chat during the live, I'm only going to go based on the comments that are already there. But if there is something that I am misunderstanding, like how a particular power works, right? Like how does the transformation work? What's the duration? Which I think it said 3 days. But if there's a further caveat, like, oh, if somebody used electricity and shocks this system, he reverts back, or if he's knocked out, so on and so forth, right? That kind of nuance and further clarification is fine. But of course, we're only going to be looking at whatever the responses were on the post. Ooh, that's sweet. What you got there? Oh, that's waffle. All right. So, opening plan of attack. Dre says he would use the terrain, fine ridges, mountain ranges, and cavern and ravines, ravine funnel, uh, funnels Black Bat into a straight line of sight, a solid attack pattern using certain armaments that he keeps on his person, like C4, C4 plastic and small explosives, to booby trap set area, causing disorientation, confusion, and pain. The Black Bat senses and body all while probing him with I just lost my with small arms fire before dealing a killing blow. Black Bat has a flight advantage, but he does not have long range capabilities, which means he has to get in close, and getting close to Grave is a very miscalculated mistake because you don't have to worry about just him. Malvado is also on the offensive once in range, which Grave would not let him out immediately. He would wait until Black Bat came within his range. Deadly Adventures of Power Gang says in response, basically, I think this would be a good fight, and Black will have to transform and think outside the box. Black Bat is way faster than Grave, even when he is amped up. He does have something that will help him keep up with Black Bat, the Cursed Soul. Black Bat will be forced to fight him from a distance. Graves might even curse the crown, but I think then Black Bat will rush him for the sake of just to get the drop of blood, and given the speed, he'll goodness typos I believe, and given the speed, once he does, he will transform, gaining the ability for Black Bat to become an astral force within 10 meters of monster. I'm sorry, guys. There are typos, and I'm trying to read it as it is, so forgive me. So let's try that again really quick. Black Bat will be forced to fight him from a distance. Grave might even curse the crown, but I think then Black Bat will rush him for the sake of just getting the drop of blood, and given the speed, he will. And once he does, he'll transform, gaining the ability, giving the ability, or giving Black Bat the ability to become an astral force within 10 meters of the monster. Black Bat being so... I'm so sorry. I'm trying to... I guess what this is trying to say is that he thinks when he draws blood from this character that he will also be able to utilize the astral force, which is not the case because the soul is bound, or the curse is bound to Grave. I don't believe that would transfer over to Black Bat. But anyway, he's saying that Black Bat will become an astral force, and within 10 meters of the monster, Black Bat will hypnotize the cursed soul, taking him into another astro space like Freddy Krueger in his world. And the Black Bat will be a bloodluster version of himself when he hasn't tasted blood in a while, and change the cursed soul back into his human form, where he eats and killing him, leaving him to die in the real world, and giving the monster Black to side war over killing Grave. Okay, that was hard to read. Forgive me. Later on, I found his blood. He bites his own arm. I'd be typing too fast. Fair enough. Okay, which I definitely do as well, so no worries there. But yeah, I guess my assumption is right? Like he's going to fly past at such breakneck speeds that he will be able to get that blood and then be able to go on the offensive there, is my assumption. But Dre, I would like some clarification down below, and let us know, would anybody that, let's say in this case, if he gets their blood, am I right in assuming that that has nothing to do with the connection that he shares with Malvado, right? Just because his blood was taken doesn't mean that this bonded soul or bonded entity would be affected in any shape, form, or fashion. Let me know. But then Dre goes on to say hypnotism and mental attacks won't work on Movado, and Grave is highly resistant to them. And if he is hypnotized, Movado will free him momentarily. As far as blood goes, Grave's blood is dead. It's a black fluid. Okay, I'll have to wait a little longer to answer this. Black fluid that courses through his body still is very similar to the crow. 1 second there. All right, and we're back. Trying to run stuff and having kids. It's a joy. Sorry for the delay. Let's dive right back into it. So yes, hypnotism and mental attacks don't work on Malvado, and Grave is highly resistant to them. And if he is hypnotized, Malvado will break him free, which we've seen in other mediums, right? You can watch your Naruto's, and somebody gets caught in a Genjutsu. If they're Jinchuriki, they might be able to break out of it because they have that extra bit of chakra coursing through them that can disrupt that technique. So not anything that's too dissimilar from what we've heard or seen. Now, as far as blood, as we started to state a little while ago, it's a dead black fluid that courses through his body, and it's very similar to the crow. If you get close enough to be touched by Grave, any item that he's holding, Grave can turn into a cursed weapon, and anything Grave holds can hurt supernatural beings, even his own person. And the spirit is an intangible entity, and unless the magical abilities that combatant has directly whatever unless the magical abilities that a combatant has directly, I'm assuming, combats the spirit cannot be touched. It can do the touching. Okay. So yeah, like if you're not equipped to take on this spirit, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything in the arsenal. Let's look and see what Power Gang says. How can I take these as facts and not Desperate Acts? Plus, I'm comparing it to Magneto and Jean Grey. How the X-Men did Apocalypse. Um, I don't think he's going immune after tasting your blood. Black Bat will have even more have more control even in the regular astral world. Black Bat would still kill him, leaving Grave vulnerable. Also, Black Bat has something called Super Warrior immunizer to Super Soldier equals to Super Soldier Serum running through his blood from his mother. He is making him the perfect human with no vampire weaknesses. Okay. Grave only has resistance to Malvado's immunity. If they were to separate from Grave, only has resistance due to Malvado's immunity. If they were to separate them, or if they were to go separate from one another, Grave could be hypnotized and controlled mentally, and Super Serum is mute because his abilities to curse anything he touches makes it deadly to whatever has a supernatural nature. Dre goes on to say, negative, I have never, nor will I ever make up stuff on the fly. I will state what is the capability of an ability. Yeah, and that's valid. He's never done anything like that. I explain the intricacies and nuances of a set abilities in its applications as the battle arises and furthers. Power Gang goes on to respond. That was for my senses the serum to why your traps wouldn't work at all if they are even set up. But how would you actually catch Black Bat and deliver a devastating blow? Why wouldn't I be able to dodge the cursed spirit after realizing it's there? You wouldn't touch the crown, so the whole time I keep distance. How would you counter my strength, and how does your healing work? You can't beat me or subdue me by but I don't know what we're trying to say here. But the side of the roar can knock you to your bones. After tasting your blood, even affect your cursed spirit all the while fighting Black Bat. I don't see you winning or you giving an explanation for you to win. So I'll stop right there really quick. Because here's the problem with the moment that we said that that Black Bat was gonna all right. So the moment Black Bat gets in close enough to get a bit of his blood, Malvado would be able to react to that. He's within that 10 meters. You would have to at least be 10 meters in order to draw that blood, right? And so that moment is when Malvado is going to shine and defend Grave from that strike. And if you don't have anything that's going to hurt Malvado, then he's going to prevent you from stealing that blood. So I don't think that course of action is going to work. And then even in that case, taking into account how Graves' blood works, we don't know the adverse effects, right? Because he's not necessarily, it's not blood proper, right? Um, but we're going to continue going really quick. So let's just say there are no traps. That still leaves a very effective arsenal. The curse mark wouldn't be shown unless Blackback got close enough for the curse spirit to actually do something, and that's only within 10 meters. If he could do something within 10 meters, then Grave can also get over in any direction in 10 meters within a split second. If he's close to the touch, Grave is close enough to touch him. If he could touch the crown, he can neutralize the crown, but the crown effects wouldn't really hold anything because manipulating blood doesn't affect Grave, being to his blood is nothing but dead tar. Speed and flight. In speed and flight, he has strength, arsenal, and capabilities Grave has. The silent roar is a problem. If Grave wasn't good at manipulating the environment and doing things on the fly while improvising, Sonic could be disrupted by explosions and other loud noises. So though he might be able to level a mountain range, Grave doesn't have to counteract it completely. Just has to be something strong enough, quick enough for quick, small disbursement of sound in a particular area, which allow Graves to shoot long distances. As far as speed for the cure, Spirit is far faster than Grave, much faster than him to the speed of thought, but the speed is only limited to 10 meters in every direction of Grave. But again, he's very capable, which he can use spells. He's very capable, which and he can use spells for defensive application, offensive applications, and now he's not a Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch, Doctor Fate type sorcerer, but his magic is very capable, in that he's known to fight creatures like and above Black Bat. So all the booby traps would be seen because of sonar hearing and dodged, even if blasted one, probably would have little effect. How do you plan to keep up? I did not mean to click on your name there. All right. So I think I'm coming up to my answer here in a second.
16, 17, 18, 18.
Guys, please. All right. He has a lot in his arsenal. This is tough, but I think I'm starting to get my answer here. Because here's the thing, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Movado can defend Grave, right? He can use his properties to defend him. Movado is the radius. He's ever present within that specific field. So even if you can locate Voldo, you wouldn't see him as a humanoid. You just see 10 meters of black shadows, and that's if you can see him. Right. So that's on some. Right. Right. Um, but yeah, that leads to my question. The question that I had initially, it is Malvado a source of defense, right? Is he able to wrap himself around Grave? You know, semantics if he would actually want to, but those shadows that are kind of surrounding Grave, since he is the radius, would he be protected? Because that's a determining factor in what my assumption is right now. Because if he just uses if Black Bat uses the silent roar from a distance, right? And again, this is a random encounter, so neither knows each other's abilities. So in an attempt to stay back, they've been in previous matches, you know, both of them are moving really cautious, and Black Bat uses his ability to like just level the playing field really quick. Now this is for me asking, obviously we're not talking about any explanations that was laid out here, but if Malvado is not automatically a defense mechanism, and Black Bat just ups and uses his silent roar, would Grave be able to survive it? Well, excuse me, if he can't, I don't think he can survive it just regularly. But if Grave does, not Grave, but Malvado acts as a shield, then I see him surviving it. But I don't imagine that that's going to be the first move that Black Bat does anyway as well. So, but this is just for my knowledge. Again, I want to know if Malvado is a type of shield. I actually give a better explanation of how the fight would actually go. Okay, bet. I'm going to kind of go through this a little quicker. Qualify a person. I pass on all versus no 1v1 permitted. Okay, here we go. Black Bat would attack first. Gray barely dodges, attacking. But Black Bat, the Black turns to miss in order to dodge an attack from Grave. It's the above comments. Did I miss it? No, or was I on it? But yeah, in order to dodge an attack from Grave, Malvado attacks, hitting Black Bat, causing him to retreat. Black notices the power and Curse Spirit, forcing him to put on the crown using his Blood King's Crown Blast. While using the blast, the mystical glow of the crown and blast reveal Malvado's location, and after noticing his healing ability, Black decides to taste his blood and gain some of his abilities. He rushes in, relying on the crown glow to reveal Malvado's location, dodging attack and attacking back himself. Black lands a slash, revealing tar and not blood. Grave lands an attack, getting Black Bat's attention because of the curse, but the burns run out due to his perfect DNA. He then bites his own arm in a desperation and needs to transform. And once transformed, Black Bat's strength, Silent Roar, and the Blood King crown. Grave can't do nothing but keep healing. But I believe if Black Bat's Silent Roar hits Grave, Malvado might be vulnerable to the mystical attacks. But even if not, in the transformation stage, I don't believe Graves can beat or kill me. Can't kill, but I can subdue, lock him up, and if your body is like the Crow or Jason the Silent Roar, might make you need a couple hours to get yourself together. Okay. He can survive long enough with his Witchcraft enhancement and use Malvado to protect him. Right. That is enough to put a bullet in his head. Okay. So here's okay. So Black Bat has advantage with the mist for sure, being able to dodge those attacks, what have you. But being so close, the moment he forms back, just going based off of this. Yeah, once you get in that radius, here's my worry, right? And here's my thought process. Once he gets close enough to try to steal that blood, right? And I'm looking right in here. He'd still be in that radius. The moment he makes that move, man, it's burning up in here. Once he makes that move, he's going to have a problem, right? And so, with that being said, he would be kind of cooked in that regard, because because he doesn't have the helmet on yet or the crown on yet to be able to see Malvado. So getting in that close beforehand, unless those is the power and the curse spirit forcing him to put on. So how would he, you know what, and let me not make assumptions for your characters, but how would he notice the power or the spirit? How would he notice the spirit? And if he does notice the spirit without the crown, why does he need the crown? Because if he is surrounding him, and I think I need to go back up to the abilities really quick. Changing the mist. Hypnosis, sonar hearing, control wall. Sonar hearing. Moving 170 miles per hour. Now, and so I do want to clarify, right? Because Malvado doesn't have a clocked speed. It's Grave that has the speed, but Malvado just exists around him. He is the shadow that just exists around him. So it's not even. So like there's speed, right? And there's like attack speed and stuff like that, right? So like would he be able to outmaneuver a shadow? He can sense mystical type of objects. Right. I think what I'm trying to clarify is how to say. Let's go back to what you actually put. Let me not make any assumptions. Let me just read exactly what was there. So he would attack first. Grave barely dodges, attacking back. So here's my worry, right? This looks like he's charging in for a physical strike, right? Because he needed to turn and mist in order to dodge the attack from Grave. But in your first move, he's not taking into account or sensing or utilizing the ability to sense, right? He went in for that attack. So my worry is if Grave exists, not Grave, but Malvado just already exists in that, in a state that allows him to defend and protect Grave, right? In that moment, you opened yourself up to an attack from Malvado. And he said that he can grab him and all this other stuff. And let me re-look at what Malvado can do, because again, in that first paragraph, you're going in for that strike. And so Malvado was grabbing you, and then what was his effects really quick? His effect can punch or grab them or items as well, or drain their astral essence and leave beings in a comatose state. Any being he kills is trapped by Malvado. So here's what I would say. Or how I'm kind of interpreting this, right? He'd go in for that attack. Malvado will catch him slipping. He'll drain him a little bit, right? And in that moment, he's like, oh, let me back up. Turns into mist to escape that. And then puts the crown on to see what the heck just happened. But I imagine in that first exchange, he does get hit. And now he's got to figure out a way or a means to navigating that. And so that's my thought process on how that would sort of work out. But after noticing his ability, while using the Black notices the power and Curse Spirit, forcing him to put on the crown, which that's where we're at now. While using the blast, the mystical glow of the crown, the blast will reveal Malvado's location. Now, here's the other part. After noticing his healing ability, Black decides to taste his blood. I don't imagine that we're even going to see him get hurt in this instance, right? Because the moment he comes in, Malvado just boom, or you know what I'm saying, or hits him. And valid point, this guy is also very much active himself. He's not sort of stuck in place like, say, Omen, right? When he's on his throne, he needed the tentacles and all that other stuff kind of came out. He can still move, and you moved right into the radius. So that's a bit of the worry there in regards to the battle strategy. Black notices the power. After notices healing ability, he brushes in, relying on the crown glow, Malvado's location, dodging attack and attacking back himself. Black lands a slash, revealing tar and not blood. And now, of course, the worry is now we know that he does move at 175 miles per hour. So, Grave may be shooting, but I don't imagine that that's actually going to do too terribly much. He should be able to dodge those things, but again, getting too close, and with that silent roar being able to protect him, and it only really said that it would go through mountains. And so, yeah, here's the worry. Let's nip this in the bud and move on to the next one. Here's the worry. What he said earlier is the fact that Malvado exists is the radius of shadows that just is always kind of perpetually around Grave. There is not a mystical or supernatural ability in his arsenal to bypass that, which means he's not going to be able to break through and actually do any real damage to him. So that's where my mindset is at the moment. And I'm trying to look back and look at this silent roar and see, because changing in the mist, yeah, Grave's not gonna be able to do anything with that. Honestly, neither one of us will be able to do anything with that. But You know what I'm saying? Which is smooth. Sonar hearing control. And Silent Roar, yeah, it's not a mystical thing. It just is able to destroy mountains. But now going back, let me see. What does whatchamacallit have in his arsenal? Well, he has Malvado. Spikes, tendrils, stretching as long as it's within a radius, yeah. So here's one of those interesting things, right? Obviously, without Malvado, I would give it to Black Bat because for the most part he is an invulnerable character. And a lot of the abilities, or rather a lot of the equipment that Grave comes into fight with are like conventional stuff. Now again, he has curse marks where he can take on supernatural, affect supernatural items or elements. And if he could see spirits apparitions and astral projections and hurt them as well, and even in that mist form, I would argue that Grave could attack and harm Black Bat in. So it's one of those interesting things. So what my original thing, what I was going to say, so the roar is going to leave him as a bag of bones. Well, okay. So again, going based off of the battle, the route or explanation that you initially put. I'm not sure what happened just now. I'm going to go about fixing what I have here. Yeah, it just kind of crapped out on me just now, but crisis averted here. Let me go back up to Dre's battle explanation really quick. Using the terrain and fine ridges, ravines, Black Bat. Okay, so he would funnel Black Bat into a straight line of sight. Certain armaments that he keeps on his person, like C4, traps that area, causing disorientation, confusion, and then right. So the sonar hearing would okay. So in my head, here's how the battle would go. Right, in an attempt to get the drop on, so you don't think the Silent Roar would leave him as a bag of bones. Jason had to get out back together, and how would Gray beat me, which Dre never explained. So here's how I'm looking at it based on the. And so yeah, no, valid, right? He also never took my powers in account. Okay, for sure, for sure. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's how it's playing out in my head at the moment, right? Yeah, he would try to set up traps, C4, gunfire, the whole nine. And actually, I do need to take a moment to go through some of these comments that you guys have dropped before I go into my bit of verdict here. Yo, Blackboard, what's going on? Jamal Dabney is in the building, y'all. So he was actually on our episode 2 of the official show. Hope all has been well, dude. So to clarify in regards to what you stated a second ago, Power Gang, I don't think it's a matter of. Let me go up to your thing. I don't think it's a matter of whether I think that his Silent Roar would leave him as a bag of bones. The question is, can the Silent Roar harm Malvado in order to pierce through to harm Grave? And what he stated earlier is, unless it is a spiritual attack, something specifically made to disrupt or harm or destroy spirits, then it's not anything that would work. So the Silent Roar wouldn't get past the shadows that protect Grave. And that's what I was trying to get the clarification on in regards to that. Because, yeah, I think without Malvado, then it's a no-brainer, right? The Silent Roar, he has no defense against the Silent Roar. But because he has Malvado, that's a whole nother situation. That'll cancel it out. And because he is the 10-meter radius that is around him, there's no navigating around that, right? So, he also never took my powers into account. Dre said his curse mark allows him to shoot, stab, whatever, with anything and whatever he's using has the same, if not more deadly force to anything supernatural. So unlike normal hunters, if he shoots a bullet at a vampire, it will kill him or a demon or like him, right? So here's, if I put both things in consider, both battle explanations so far, here's what I would do, or here's what I'm gathering from this, right? Grave goes in. He's assessing the situation. He'll try to start setting traps up and stuff like that. Black Bow, almost laughing. Black Bow. I keep wanting to say Black Bow. Jesus Christ. Black Bat is using the sonar hearing, and he's picking up on what's going on. Going based on, and again, I'm putting both of y'all's initial battle strategy situations here together. And like he even says right here, Black Bat has a flight advantage, in which I imagine using that sonar hearing, he sees what Grave is trying to do. Black Bat swoops in an attempt to attack him. He does sense that spiritual force, but he gets in close. Malvado grabs him really quick, drains him slightly, but he uses the miss to get away and thus putting the crown on, which is a bet, right? But when we go back down to your battle explanation, he he puts the crown on, and then he tries to go in and try to taste the blood of Grave again, which would require him to try to rush in once more. And although he could see Malvado, from how Malvado was being described, again, like sure, in the image, we have this, not even humanoid, but this kind of manifestation of this like one singular thing. But he said a second ago that he is the entire 10-meter radius, right? He is the shield, the bubble, the shadow that surrounds him. So yeah, we see him like this in the image, but like imagine that, a 10-meter circular radius. I'm getting this wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Dre. Just going based off what you typed up there. But if he's that entire radius and you try to go in for the blood again, although you see him, right, you're still gonna fall within that, and the same outcome may happen, and then the blood transfer isn't gonna work the same. But I think both of them, the bug can't do nothing but keep healing. I believe Black Bat. Okay, so like both of you guys have healing factors, right? And so that's what the problem is. But with 2 times now trying to dive in and get close to Malvado or try to get close to Grave, Malvado is the trump card. That's gonna keep happening. But his healing factor not instant. If it's like Jason, and even with Malvado, he will be subdued. He won't even be mobile after the roar. And so, right, again, I think the disconnect is Malvado would be fine after the roar. And if Malvado is the shadow that is completely protecting him, that roar has to get past Malvado. And it's not, because it's not a spiritual thing. And again, he said only spiritual items or spiritual weapons or things meant specifically to destroy spirits would harm him. So hypothetically, if he is this shield, right, this entire not shield, but this radius around him, the roar isn't going to get to Grave. It'll only hit Malvado and have no effect on Malvado, right? And so in those 2 instances before we even get to the roar, with Black Bat charging in based on the battle strategy, he charges in twice to try to get in close. One time, just to swap blows with him really quick, and then the second time, I'm 3 times faster. I don't. Malvado and Grave together bring us to about the same speed. So I think there's still a miscommunication in regards to that. I think there's still a bit of a disconnection, or maybe I'm just reading the same thing twice. No, this is at 9:12. It's still 9:12. So although you're faster, I agree, your character is faster, but he always exists in a radius around you. There's nothing, you know what I mean? So even if you got in close, he is that 10-meter radius around him. And it's not even something that Grave needs to react to. It's Malvado. Right? Does that make sense? So, like, you might be physically faster than Grave himself, right? Malvado exists in a 10-meter radius as a shadow encompassing him almost at all points in time. So there's nothing really to activate. He just already is. And so you have to interact with him before you get to Grave. And so whether it's you're trying to hit Grave, and again, in that first encounter, you can sense it, but you can't see him. In that first encounter, you're going to get grabbed by this spiritual force. And then the second time, you'll see the force, and you went in to try to attack him again to draw blood. And so that's 2 times now you got him close, and your soul drained by him. And so again, the other worry, you would just see smoke if you could see him. A sorcerer can pin Malvado down. They can't separate him. They can stop him from moving. Malvado is fast, which was explained in the comments. Yeah, and I think Black Bat still ended up being faster than Malvado, if I'm not mistaken. But again, he can move within 10 meters. He is not a wall. So how to say? Let's just go back to the statements really quick. Let's go back to statements. Can act on his own capacity, touch things, but only 10 meters in all directions from Derek, and can punch or grab. Okay. So, what he said in clarification, much like we're doing in this chat, let's scroll back up to that. And like he said just now, he would just appear as smoke, right? So let me go back up to let's scroll back up. Here's what he said. Vodo is the radius. He's ever present within that specific field. So even if you locate him, you wouldn't see him as a humanoid. You would just see meters of black shadows, and that's if you could see him. So he is literally shrouded by Malvado. So you know what I'm saying? And so that's why I was trying to word it earlier, like he is encompassed by this, right? So if you can see him, Grave is enshrouded. He is covered by this for 10 meters out, right? And so again, if Malvado is a being that can only be hurt by spiritual weapons, he in essence is a shield or a wall that would protect him from that, right? And so yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure I brought that back up, because I never want to put words in people's mouths and stuff like that. That's what he said in his clarification in regards to how he would work. Yeah, so that's, again, if Grave didn't have Malvado, Grave does not have a defense against the Silent Roar. But Malvado is literally that perfect defense against that. So that's the end of that. We're already at 9:17. Jesus Christ, we spent an hour on that. So I am going to confidently say here that that's, though good, I think this one will have to go to grave because we don't have an answer for that move. And again, taking both kind of initial battle explanations face to face against one another, you went in twice for an attack, a close-up attack against a being that's always essentially active in that radius. Yeah. So here's okay. Right. So let's say, for sake of conversation, let's go back to that image, right? Let's say, sake of conversation, if all you see is shadows, then yeah, this humanoid just right on grave is what's covered, right? But then you're going to get in close for that attack, and anywhere in 10 meters, that's what's going to happen. But again, in his clarification, right? In his clarification, yes, he'll be able to move in 10 meters, so he can extend out in any direction, but he also clarified that he is this 10-meter radius. So maybe, right, let's play devil's advocate for a second, right? He would use Malvado to drain you when you get in close, when you run into him, either one of those times, he would grab you and drain your character's soul or essence. Outside of that, you guys would kind of be infinitely fighting each other with y'all's healing factor. But by charging in twice and not fully understanding how Malvado works, your soul would get drained. And then that would be a wrap. Which, again, your characters are invulnerable, so it wouldn't be a fisticuffs battle in the least bit. That battle would go on damn near forever. But in that attempt to swap blows in the beginning and grab his blood, you are going in that radius. And so, again, that devil's advocate situation I was going to bring up is, let's say it only shrouded directly on his body. But when you come in for the attack, expands out for that 10 meters in preparation. You know what I'm saying? And even if, let's say the character is faster, that being is still on him, right? So when you got in close to try to attack, he doesn't even need the 10 meters because you closed that gap for him, right? Like, here's the difference, right? I'm imagining Gar's sand shield, right? All right, bet you got past the sand shield, right? But he has that sand armor that's lightly covering his body. So let's say conversation devil's advocate here, you have Malvado that is on the person of grave, right? So let's say, okay, bet you got in close. You did what you needed to do. You closed that gap. You got past what would be a 10-meter radius, but you're now getting ready to hit Malvado himself that is directly attached to grave, and the same thing would happen. But as you try to escape now, he can expand out to that 10 meters and say try to grab you before you got away, right? Or now that you've made yourself known and the battle is starting, now he expands out or moves within 10 meters in preparation for whatever your next attack is, right? But he is literally bonded to this being. And so, again, by going in twice to attack, and these characters aren't slouches, right? To go in for that attack, you're literally opening yourself up to have your soul stolen or drained by Malvado. I hear the grumblings of a thunderstorm outside, so I am concerned that the power might go out. So we are going to move forward, but that's my verdict. I think that's what would happen. And he comes in with way more equipment. Not that the equipment is really going to hurt Black Bat. Again, I think the only thing that's really going to give him the full win is the fact that he has Malvado. Because yeah, Black Bat is stronger. Black Bat has more going on. Okay. Tell mommy because I am in the middle of something. All right, so we're gonna move forward really quick. There we go. So going to the finals next time around, which might be this weekend. Sounds biased, but okay. I approve facts with pages and posts, but okay. You gave him his scenarios, the rules, is our description of votes, and we would go in twice. He wouldn't catch them in 3 times faster, but cool. All right. So I'm gonna take a pause right here. I not to toot my own horn, but I'm probably the most unbiased person in here. I have no attachments to any of these characters, and I flat out had Dre lose several matches. If you guys go back through it, but again, you know, I'm going based on what you guys put. I've only read what you guys put. You went in directly twice with the knowledge of how his ability works, because we read it in order. So I got the same information you got. I don't read these until the night of. So I read the same thing y'all read, and you ran into his attack, or potentially ran into a direct ability to have your soul drained twice, right? And so it's not biased, right? It's okay. You know what I mean? So, and again, I do want to clarify, guys. These matches are icebreakers. I don't want you guys to take these things personally. These are opportunities for everybody to learn each other's abilities. But this frustration is good because it also makes it painfully apparent that we need the database, and we need you guys to have these characters in the database so that everybody knows what each other's abilities are, plain as day, right? Because yeah, it can be frustrating, right? Like, dang, like, well, how am I supposed to stop it? What am I supposed to do? So on and so forth. And it's hard to keep up sometimes, right? It's hard to keep up with what everybody's characters can do. You know, obviously, as we get ready to go into this next match, which is definitely going to be um, several points of contention in, right? There's a lot happening with these characters. It's hard to keep up. It's easy to miss stuff, and that's the importance of the database. That's why we ran this exhibition match. This is why we let anybody's characters, or any character rather, be a part of these matches, because, like, again, let's keep it frank, like, it's hard to keep up. I didn't know Bolt was this god tier character. He looked like a low tier character. So good luck to Grave, right, trying to fight against Bolt, the anchor of the multiverse, right? But how else would we learn about each other's powers than going through these icebreakers, right? And going through these matches and stuff like that. So again, it's okay, right? It's not the end of the world. There's a difference, right? Your character has books, or is a part of, yes, go to mommy. I'm in the middle of something. So it's good. Have these frustrations. It's all good. But please, don't insult my character and integrity. That's all that I ask. Not a biased character. Hell, I have admitted that my characters would not be able to win against a good bit of these characters, right? I have stories and universes that I have to abide by, so I don't even include my characters in some matches because I know what's about to happen, right? So yeah. Anyway, all I have to say, no, there's no bias here. I'm curious to know what Black looks like without the mask. I don't even think I've seen his face, but good match, dope character, and back and forth. Yeah, absolutely, guys. So, good segue into the next matchup. We have Heartline Menace versus Gago. I will not be reading 177 comments, okay? We are going to go through what the characters can do. We're going to see if there was an explanation, which I do see Cheddar do put an explanation of how he's going to start the battle. We're going to try to see what the explanations are and go from there. Alrighty? So, Gago starts all his battles. As he starts all his battles, he will start this one the exact same way. He first unleashes his Entropy Halo, which is a passive ability. It's an indomitable aura that destabilizes, goodness gracious, his opponents all through the fight. Heartline Menace senses his senses will be filled with doubt and uncertainty all through this battle, leading to him making mistakes. Heartline Menace is unable to build momentum as he does when he starts battles because of his indomitable aura. All right, the Entropy Halo's scale of reach is as large as a planet. Basically, the whole planet would feel and be affected by this indomitable aura. He does further clarify that it's an aura. You can feel it. It's like feeling scared, but you don't know why you're scared. You just keep feeling uneasy. He says it doesn't control you, but it's indomitable. You can't beat it. You cannot resist it, as it affects the whole battle environment. It's an aura, and once it is unleashed in an environment, as long as you are there, you will be affected. The only way to escape is to leave that location. Its range is as wide as the planet we're fighting on. This battle in the precipice, so there's no way for Heartline Menace to escape, and nowhere else for him to run. That's why he keeps trying to break the fourth wall to run away. Okay, so this field is to essentially, read all them joints. Golly, my boy, don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. So we do need to re-go over, so that we see. So we learn about Entropy Halo. Spiff dropped the abilities for Heartline Menace. So we're gonna go through that, and I did want to dive into a little bit of that because I think the last time we talked about Heartline Menace, we attributed Toon Force to the character, but I don't think we actually saw Toon Force per se here, right? And there are slight differences, right? I think personally, but we'll dive into that. So we have a goo form. He's able to turn into liquid ink to dodge, slide, and reform mid-fight. He is nearly untouchable in this form. He has an annihilation blast, so massive chaos fueled energy beam. He destroys terrain and causes glitch fallout. Panel rush, speedster with frame skipping movement and after image confusion. Fourth wall freak out, interacts with the audience in reality, pulls gags or weapons from other stories. Pocket mayhem, reaches into a glitchy back portal to pull unpredictable weapons and objects. Momentum Titan, once running, becomes nearly unstoppable. The faster he moves, the harder he hits. Shape-shifting, need we say more in regards to that. Superhuman stamina, and then Ultimate Panel Flood opens a giant glitch portal, unleashing multiple chaotic versions of himself for a swarm assault. Now, what I do want to say is that I don't see him being able to leave a dimension. He's able to interact, like, say, right, I imagine, like, yeah, sure, we could say a Bugs Bunny. We could say, hell, characters from, or like Deadpool, right? He's able to interact with the audience, or Spider-Ham, able to pull stuff out, but leave a dimension, right, and completely ignore the dimension's rules in the sense of completely leaving it. I don't know how to further say that. You can't leave it. And I think what we did last time, going based on the explanations that we saw, we kind of just attributed Toon Force as a whole to Heartline Menace instead of using it as it was, and that is an example to better explain the idea of how his powers were, not the fact that Toon Force is his power, if that makes sense, right? Now, granted, of course, we still went based on the explanations, right? And we were trying to, so sake conversation. What I would have said if I was Ralph in regards to the Tridian, if he says that he could pull Justice Energy from every universe, dimension, timeline, that includes the real world, and however many potential infinite timelines that includes, right? And so he'll be able to break the fourth wall, sure, right? But that means the Trinity would be able to use that energy as well to attack because it said every. Now, the argument was because Heartline Menace isn't necessarily an evil character, would he be affected by abilities that a Tridian has that specifically harms characters that are evil? And so I know he has the blue flame and stuff like that, and I know this is more about the previous matchup. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of my mindset when it comes to this, right? If we're just talking about pulling Justice Energy as an attack, that can still do plenty of damage, right? And dare I say, I probably would have said that that would probably work if we got a clear answer as to whether or not the Sword of Justice's ultimate attack could affect beings that are not evil. Again, I know the blue flame of baptism is specifically something for evil characters, But could the attack with Justice Energy do damage to things that are not evil per se, right? So anyway, we've read through Heartline Mantis' abilities again. So again, I'm more attributing to him to Spider Ham. Spider Ham is able to pull stuff out of other dimensions. Characters, some characters can interact with the audience, Deadpool, She-Hulk, and stuff like that. So it's really a combination of those two, but nothing on the same scale of, say, a Bugs Bunny, a SpongeBob SquarePants, right? Where they're able to literally control narratives. That's not the power set, but I wouldn't even say it's adjacent. But he's like a rung under characters like that with actual Toon Force, right? So now, if we could agree on that fact, let's go ahead and move forward. So yes, he said Heartline Menace can break the fourth wall and bring weapons from other realities, and has speed on the level of Flash. While moving, he's unmovable like the Juggernaut. He is chaotic like the Mask and Kid Boo, and doesn't need to play by the rules others play by. Now, let's go back. Does he have anything that'll break him out of the entropy halo? So his goo form isn't anything that can that's breaking through that. The annihilation blast is an aura, so it's not destroying that. Even if we're skipping frames per se, he's still within the planet. Pulls gag weapons from other stories, so yeah, that's still a thing. Pocket Mayhem reaches into a glitchy back portal to pull unpredictable weapons and objects. Momentum Titan, we already went over that. Shape-shifting, superhuman stamina, and then Panel Flood, where he can unleash multiple chaotic versions of himself. So there's nothing in the arsenal, based on the listing here, that's going to protect him from that. So let me go. Spiff drops. He said, so it doesn't say it on the sheet. He says Toon Force. Oh, it says Toon Force, but he is essentially a Toon character. I didn't necessarily write it down because it's kind of a self-explanatory of what type of character. But again, right?
Yes.
Guys, please go play. Lord have mercy. Come on, guys. So here's the thing. Yes, right. But the scaling, right, of how to word this concisely, right? Because in his abilities, like there's a difference between go play. There's a difference between Mask and SpongeBob. There's a difference between Bugs Bunny and Squidward, right? And I keep bringing that up. I was just recently watching a power scaling video with SpongeBob, right? And so in that power scaling video, SpongeBob was able to pull on a thread that unraveled his entire Bikini Bottom, the world, real people, and destroyed everything and turned everything into nothingness, right? That is absolutely ridiculous, right? Or when you have Bugs Bunny, who is literally, he can change the story. He can change the narrative that's happening. In the abilities here, although adjacent to these Toon characters, right, he is not changing the narrative. He's like Spider-Ham, again, was the example that I utilized, right? Yeah, he could pull stuff from other dimensions, right? And again, we could say that he's able to pull, you have two moves that's essentially pulling stuff from alternate dimensions. One is gags or weapons from other stories specifically, and then another thing where he's able to reach and pull unpredictable weapons and objects. So things that, my assumption, right? One is randomized, the other one is I specifically want that item over there. Let me go ahead and grab that, right? But is he himself pulling and destroying an entire galaxy by pulling on a thread? Is he like, even Arale, right? She stepped outside of her own frame and pointed, you know what I'm saying? It was pointing at the frame herself at the frame that she pulled herself out of, right? He's not doing that, right? He's not doing that per se. So I would dare say that there are levels to, right, our Toon Force character or Toon Force adjacent characters. And again, if I'm misinterpreting by any means, drop your 2 cents in there. Let me make sure that I'm getting this correct. Because at the end of the day, these are characters that you guys made. I'm only going based off of, one, what I see with the information that is provided, that's here on here. And again, like I was saying a little while ago at the climax of the previous match, the importance of the database, right? So when we open that back up, make sure y'all provide all of the accurate information about your characters. If there's any updates or all that stuff, make sure it's all on there, because that's all we can go by. Unless you have a book for them. Unless you have a book for them, then we can cross-reference. But there are adjacent Toon Force adjacent moves and abilities on here. Again, we talking Spider Ham to SpongeBob, Bugs Bunny's Mask is somewhere in there, right? But because She-Hulk can break the fourth wall, would not make her a Toon Force character, right? If that makes sense, right? And I guess we can argue semantics on that all day long, but I think there are levels to it, just like levels to God characters in every medium, right? Thor is not the same level of God as the one above all, but he is still a God character, right? And so that's what I would say. Like, sure, he's a Toon Force character, but he's not. Does that make sense? Am I making sense here? To everybody watching? If not, let's. So Deadpool was able to go out and force the writers to change the story or kill them. The Heartline Menace could jump out of the story as well and pull stuff from other realities. So let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to be funny. Let me ask you this, based on what I have here on the list, how would I know that? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, just reading this. So again, when we're going into these battles, right? How would Chinadu know that? Because that's a lot of assuming now that has to happen, right? You know what I'm saying? And so, hold on, let me put that up here. And he can change things in his own story, which is valid, right? And of course, y'all know I like to make sure that we try to equalize things as much as possible, as well. So I don't want to spend an hour trying to rationalize that, if I'm being fully transparent. But the question is, how would, and again, all these are like writing prompts, really, is what we're trying to build up to. If these are the abilities of the characters, right? If these are the plain as day abilities of the characters, then it's only fair that your opponent does know that as well, right? Me making the mistake with Bolt, right? I didn't know, right? I didn't know that he was as strong as everybody was saying he was, right? And so now when we talk about this fight between Gago and Heartline Menace, now we knew Heartline Menace was the guy. I ain't gonna be that foolish. We know that he was the guy, right? Looking at these abilities, but how would he know that he is able to do that much or change or affect that much based on that, right? Because again, looking at it, again, I'm getting Spider-Ham, right? He's pulling stuff out of nowhere, or like we talked about briefly with the mask. The mask is just pulling stuff out of nowhere and doing that kind of thing. But rewriting his entire story, if we're just looking at the power sets and abilities provided to us, that's not what we're gathering. I can write it next time. I just don't put all the details on the sheet because it's in a small space, which is fair, right? Which is fair. But, I would dare say, it wouldn't take a lot. You just say that he's a Toon Force character. You know what I'm saying? Or the fun facts or something like that you have. You just put he's a Toon Force character and abilities, and leave it at that. Like Toon Force, which allows him to do, and then drop the abilities right under there, and go that way. Honestly, Fourth Wall Freakout and Pocket Mayhem, you know what I'm saying? Like that could all be under the same kind of definition. He's still pulling stuff out from. This is not me giving critiques on this thing. We're supposed to be talking about the matches. But yeah, so let's keep it a buck. Now, again, in your explanation, right, and I can't negate this, right? In your explanations, you have explained that he is a Toon Force character. You have explained that in your explanations. Y'all have gone back and forth I will read a couple more of these things, but let's keep it a buck. If he is a Toon Force character that can defy the logic of all of reality, then there is nothing in any character's arsenal in this tournament that is capable of standing up to a character such as this. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Let me scroll down. Well, the Heartline Menace breaks the fourth wall and does what he does, like he's breathing air. So it's not necessarily like he thinks about it or has an imagination about that said thing. And it's nothing to apologize for. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about something bad. No, you're good. It's just, it's one of those things where, when we're explaining our characters, right? And so I don't want to linger on this too long, but I think it just kind of bears going back over, right? When we go into these matches, right, being able to provide what the characters can do concisely, and that's why the database cards are designed the way that they are, where it's just like character could do this, 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 and this, right? And if it makes it makes sure it's concise enough and makes sense to where it's like, bet this character is, we use the Trinity as an example all the time. Okay, blue fire or blue flame of baptism. Okay, so he's baptizing things. Oh, okay, he is a justice character. Okay, he's getting rid of evil. Like, you can make those concise. This is what it does. But again, when we go into the matches, you could ask, like, what does that do, right? Much like how you have your ability sheet, right? What does that do? But then when we don't have it on there, it's hard. And I can see why this got to 177 comments, because I see Cheddar Dude's having a hard time really rationalizing how this Toon Force ability works. Because I think he was just stuck on fourth wall breaking, not what all a Toon Force character can do. And I hope I'm not disappointing, because this match I followed. This match I did slick follow. It was just like, based on what he said in previous matches, yeah, all these characters is cooked. Dre Burke, so yeah, it's more he just doesn't necessarily think about. He has a list of combat moves, so he thinks he even knows when to use them. Yeah, so it's more so that he just does, but doesn't necessarily think about it. Yeah. So it's almost, what I'm gathering from Heartline Menace is it's almost an Ultra Instinct-esque existence, where it's just like he just does stuff. And if he's threatened, he just does what he needs to do. Does the halo affect feelings? Yes, it does. But let's ask that question then. Can any of these abilities, can the Entropy Halo affect, how would the Entropy Halo actually affect Heartline Menace Smith? Are we saying that it has no effect? If we're saying it has no effect, please explain why it has no effect. Because you are asking, that's a very valid question there. He says no, before I was kind of making it a joke like Toy Story, but he doesn't have a mommy as part of the Ultimate Heartline Menace. Elaborate. But no, I do remember the example in the previous match was just essentially, because of how chaotic his powers are, he would make it seem as though, like, it almost be like a Genjutsu type situation where it's like, hey, we're fighting, but when you actually see reality for as it is in the form that he created it, you're just an action figure or whatever like that, playing against or fighting against another one as he is the puppeteer of that reality or what have you. Now, I don't know what y'all are referencing right now. I feel like this might be a side conversation that happened, unless this is just somewhere buried in these things. But tell us about that personality a little bit and what his defense would be against the Entropy Halo. If you're still there, Spiff. But yeah, my concern is when you have a character like this, even if you can change his mindset, is there anything that he can do um, to actually get rid of him or knock him out? Is my worry. Um, if you're still there, Spiff, if you can dive into that a little bit. And I'm trying to find some more info. Fourth wall block, an indomitable aura prevents Heartline from using narrative awareness as it alters his senses. Anti-imagination field, because the indomitable aura alters the opponent's sense, it also serves as an anti-imagination field. Now, I don't remember seeing that in Gago's previous battle as a technique or move or anything like that. Let me go back to that. And so, again, I think this is the importance of having the database and understanding or having solidified powers, stats, and abilities, because let me go back to the match between the Judah's Lion King and this. Chenadu says that he has dark matter, bleed factors, we know it. So dark matter is believed to be a vital role in the formation of evolution in galaxies. A large structure in the universe acted as a kind of scaffolding for the visible universe. So Gago creates and controls dark matter. His dark matter infused biology makes him indestructible. He is faster than light speed. He is capable of destroying a planet easily, as seen in Chapter 1 of his comic book series. To start this battle, he first unleashes an entropy halo, which is an indomitable aura that destabilizes his opponent's will through the fight, or all through the fight. I don't see, and I'm going to try to see if I can go to any older posts where the powers are talked about, but I don't see anything that supports that claim, right? And so it's very important that we have consistent intel in regards to the characters. So let me see what Spiff said about his character. So the Heartline Menace is part of the Ultimate Heartline Menace, which is the heart that keeps the Heartline Comics universe alive. He sends out lesser versions of himself throughout the Omniverse to test out people's skills and sees what they're made of. He was born to just create chaos. So it's not necessarily like he thinks about his powers like breaking the fourth wall. It's just something that he was born able to do, like breathing air, so he doesn't have to think about doing it. It's second nature to him. But he still has to, he's still cognizant of what he's doing, though, right? So he still has to make decisions to do these things, right? Although the power is innate to him and it's not something that he has to train up per se, he still has to be cognizant and have intent to do what he's trying to do, correct? And just correct me if I'm wrong in that regard. And so, in the meantime, yeah, in regards to these abilities here, I don't believe that Indomitable Aura has been stated to do these things, right? Again, based on what was said in the previous matchup. And again, right? Not even again, it's not anything that was in that previous matchup. He has dark matter manipulation. He is indestructible. He's faster than light. He can destroy a planet easily. And then he's able to destabilize his opponent, right? Here's the frustrating thing, right? Because, again, there's a certain echelon of characters that I probably wouldn't have pit against each other. Though he looks promising, right? He doesn't have anything in his arsenal that is going to eradicate him, right? And back to what I was going to say in regards to the certain echelon of beings, right? You have these characters. I wouldn't put Odin versus Eternity. I wouldn't put the Phoenix Force versus uh, who's a good example? I wouldn't put Phoenix Force against Sif. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain echelons of beings that just kind of are above the weight class, right? Um, I'm not putting Arishem versus Captain America. You know what I'm saying? There's just characters that are just impressive in their own right, but they just hit outside. They just don't hit outside of their weight class like that. So yeah, so going here, as you guys can see on the screen, I can't count that. That's not. These aren't moves that were stated in previous matches, right? We can't do these live kind of updates to moves. What was the power that the character had? And that's why I was hesitant to allow the Toon Force thing, but from the beginning, from each of these matches you have described, or we've all described really, the character as a Toon Force character. Right. So if it was the reason why he won the previous matches, I can't then renege on that, right? And so it has been the same all the way through. It's not a new addition per se. um, the interesting gray line that we are traversing in regards to attempting to explain this matchup. Heartline Man's can jump from panel to panel, so he could take Ralph's Atridian into a panel where Sword Justice doesn't exist, Void basically to power him. This is useless against Gago. They apparently made it up of dark energy, dark matter, and can use Void Step, which is basically teleportation, through whatever any of these voids are. The Heartline Menace could realistically bring objects from other realities, meaning, and then that's the other thing, right? Yeah, he has Toon Force, right. That's the other thing. He was just one of many, but he could think he doesn't have to break the fourth wall and use some of his abilities. Right. Um, right. It's about consistency between. Hold on. Let me go back because y'all going in right now. All right. Not born, but created. Okay, for sure. It's about consistency between matches. Yeah. He said this nigga chose to get dressed and put on some J's and jeans, so he thinks absolutely. That right. Facts. He's just one of many, LOL. But he could think, but he doesn't have to break the fourth wall and use some of his abilities. And yeah, he has Toon Force. I will do a mini book of the Heartline Menace. Gotcha. Yeah, like let's keep it a buck, yo. If the character has Toon Force, he ignores the laws of reality for every verse. And again, I think personally, um, that Atridian was probably the best bet to win because he could pull energy from any and all verses. And there's not anything necessarily in his arsenal, based on what we see on the list, right? There's not anything necessarily in Heartline Menace's arsenal that could have protected him from that. The argument that we didn't quite get the answer for or response to was, does his ability, when he absorbs all that energy to fire off against an opponent, does that only work on beings that are evil or not? Because again, the problem was Heartline Menace is not an evil character. But in my opinion, I think Atridian probably was the only character on the roster that had a chance of winning in a battle against Heartline Menace. But the explanations were there. So yeah, I think unfortunately, as impressive as Gago is, and again, we almost are here at 2 hours, and we probably would have been longer if I went through here. Yeah, Toon Force is too powerful. When talking about like again, there's different hierarchies, man. There's different hierarchies. As powerful as all the characters that we've seen in the series, right? There's nothing like we've seen Dormammu, right? So we got Dormammu again versus Eternity. Like there's different levels. So yeah, unfortunately for Gago, I think Heartline Menace takes this because there's no circling around it. There's no circling around it. Oh yeah, for sure. I think that would be a cold battle. I absolutely think that'd be a cold battle. But yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. It's Heartline. It's definitely a Heartline Menace victory here. So I'm sorry, Gago. Again, your character Trinidad is hella impressive. I do want to see more. I do want to check out the story. Um, but yeah, Toon Force is Toon Force is. You know what I'm saying? Like Darkseid is. Toon Force simply is. Um, and so again, like I said in the previous match, I got 50 if you read all those comments. Yeah. Yeah. It's already 10 o'clock, brother. I can't. I can't. I'm so sorry. It's tempting though. It's tempting. But no. Yeah, there's a lot of good arguments in here, and I invite anybody that hasn't had the opportunity to check those out in the group. But at the end of the day, if you have a character with Toon Force against a character that is not the god of the verse of all things in that universe and maybe even beyond, right? Um, there's really nothing. Um, there's really nothing that can happen there. Um, mm, Damn it, Dre. That's a damn good. Because he's like, read the comments, read them. But it's already 10 o'clock, y'all. It's already 10 o'clock. But again, what I do want to see in the future, guys, is I want Sega Conversation. I want Heartline Menace to say, all right, Heartline Menace starts the battle and he does X, Y, and Z. I know about in the previous matchup, he said he has this entropy halo. However, with his Toon Force ability or with the ability to pull the Dragon Balls into the universe, he would completely negate any reality warping powers outside of his own, and thus making Gago's ability, you know what I'm saying, like, mute, right? And so now the battle commences, and Heartline Menace does da 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 da, and takes Gago out, thus claiming victory, right? And then boom, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, because now, one, it's not necessarily as many. I like the back and forth, but I think having this is my answer, and then that's the answer, right? And then you could be like, no, that wouldn't work because of X, Y, and Z. And now it just becomes cross-referencing the information that everybody provided. So now it's like, hey, did you actually say that or did this, da 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 da? And so now it's just understanding the characters themselves, not, you know what I'm saying? Are y'all following me in regards to that? Dre said Pantheon can take them. And then Spiff said, oh, yeah, we'll see about that. Okay. Honestly, though, that would be a good fight. Honestly, would be a good fight. Knowing what I know now about Pantheon, that would be a good fight. But anyway, the last thing I wanted was to spend 2 hours on a Tuesday holding y'all up because I know some folks got work in the morning. I don't want to, So what we're going to do next, the next matchups, we only have 2 matchups left in this tournament. Those matchups are as follows. We have Heartline Menace versus Gaia. That'll be this weekend. And then Grave versus Bolt. Here's the problem, y'all. Again, Bolt is way above the weight class, but we're going to see what each contestant says. I'll go ahead and probably make the graphic tonight and have that post first thing in the morning in regards to the matchups. But then Heartline Menace versus Gaia. I need some good explanations because, man, and here, damn, Dre, I'm just now realizing that you are in both of these, both the finals. So yeah, good luck. Good luck. You got 2 opportunities. So let's see. But yeah, so it's Dre versus everyone right now. So it's Dre versus Spiff in the form of Heartline Menace and Gaia, and Dre versus Roscoe in regards to Grave versus Bold. So good luck. I hear that storm brewing still outside, so again that power might go out. But anyway, thank you guys. Again, these are tough. right? Um, it's tough, right? Because again, we're working with very, very limited intel. And I think that's what once more, if I'm, to continue to beat a dead horse here, I think that is what the importance of us getting you guys on the database and flooding it with characters, right? So I want everybody to be sure to be on the lookout when we open it back up. It'll be on indiebreakdown.com, right? You go to the database. If you don't have a book yet, your character would fall under the Nexus division. So you still get a spotlight. You still get to get seen. People can show up, see your characters. You take a conversation. We can go here. Eric J. Majors is one of Dre's characters. You can visit Omni Comics IG, and you can see more about what he has coming down the pipe, right? So the idea is for people to see these characters, and I probably should go back to that so you guys can um, get an idea of what I'm talking about with how concise, or not concise, but just clear as day the powers are, right? There's only one thing each of my characters can do to each of them that I was able to see. Uh-oh. He plotting. He said, I'm about to lose both. Damn. But no, but see, again, so on here, right? So Eric J. Majors has nano-organic mystical particles throughout his body. Boom. That's the equipment, right? Powers, absorption and kinetic energy, which he can distribute through his entire body, or focus point, enhanced vision, infrared and night vision, electricity immunity, magic immunity, stores energy from physical attacks, and can interface with technology. Clear as day. All the information that we need in regards to what he can do. Okay, now, of course, these are changing how the database, the tiers and the power stats are going to be changing. But again, it's clear cut what the character can do, so that there's no question. So when you guys start doing the explanations as to how your character wins, you have all the information necessary to come out on top, or explain why your character wins, and why the other character loses, right? And I know that this is very much possible, because I was doing it with less information, right? All I had when I was doing the show, well, I say less information, but when I was doing the show, I had their word. I would buy the book, or I'll have them send me the book, and then I would do a breakdown and make sure that I had everything correct, right? And so then I, at the end of the season, write a scenario between two characters that were selected via a randomizer wheel, and make sure that it stays true to how the characters were described and how they moved in their books, right? So I didn't even have a clear cut database to pull from. And dare I say, I came up with some decent scenarios. So I imagine that you guys can come up with even better scenarios, because one of the characters is your character. And you're telling us how they can come out on top using the environment to their advantage, using their powers to their advantage, using their opponent's powers and personality to their advantage, right? So, with all that being said, um, take a look at the website. Please, we would like for you guys to follow the YouTube, right? We go live every time we go live here. It is live there as well. There is damn near a new video playing every single day, or launching, not launching. What is the word I'm looking for? Posting, dang near every single day. Whether it's the shorts from previous matchups, or those actual interviews, or these videos. But what we want to do is try to get that subscriber count up, because there are several things I would like for us to be able to do. This, really, I'm trying to put money into this so that we can, get some shirts, get some stuff done, so that you guys, so we can do more. We could do more and get these indie characters out there. Because I'd like to do some posts, like sponsored posts and stuff like that, where we do the character highlights and all that other stuff. That stuff costs money, right? And so if we can make money just via having these YouTube numbers up and stuff like that, that would help tremendously, right? And it'd be no cost to you guys. So head on over there. Obviously, it'll look like this, right? Indie Breakdown. And like I said, this is live now, right here. But all the previous matches, all the previous scenarios, the breakdowns of the various characters that you can see here. There's Acolyte, there's Deja Vu, freaking Paladin from Icarus Metro, Homeless Homeboy. So many characters that you guys may or may not have heard of. There's The View, there's Vibrant, y'all should be familiar with him, Zyla, and all the random shorts in regards to some of the interviews that we've done. Get to know these characters, right? Because this is essentially what I want to make sure that we do on a wider scale for you guys. So head on over there, man. I want people talking about these characters, and getting excited about again, the worlds that you guys are creating.
Can I get the red and black controller?
So yeah. Head on over to indiebreakdown.com, check out all that stuff. Eventually we are going to get back to doing the events. I'm excited about the events. Dre posted quite a few. And if you guys haven't had the opportunity to check out the previous events, please do so. You can find those also on, I want to say when you go to indiebreakdown.com, you can find that under verses. And you can read, you can read those. I'm actually writing them out for blog posts. And once we do them as blog posts, and it's completely up to the people that were involved, right? I want us to be able to eventually drop these, right? I want the people involved. Obviously, this is exclusively to people that are in the database, so it's very important for you guys to be a part of it. And those that have signed up, y'all know exactly, what was on the Google form and stuff like that. But the idea is reaching out to you guys again and being like, all right, I know we talked about, I think it was Incendiary's Rampage. We just let's get like 2 pages done of Incendiary's Rampage. You know what I'm saying? Like them try to fight him and then the outcome of it, right? Nothing too serious or big, or maybe it can be something big, right? But the idea is everybody involved, right? If we drop that, everybody involved would just have that story to sell, right? It would be like a Indie Breakdown Presents, but like you would just keep I have an idea. I was a part of a project a couple years ago. For the Powerverse. I'm sure most of you have heard of that. And so what we did over there was once the story dropped, everybody had the opportunity to oh goodness. Everybody would get a copy of it and there would be an opening for them to put their branding on it. So I will show you what that looked like, right? So like this, right? My thought process is, well, let's freaking do that, right? You do an Indie Breakdown Presents and then you have your logo on the side of whatever story you was a part of, and then you go sell that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's really work together to make that happen. Right. So that's my thought process in regards to, again, things like the Incendiary's Rampage, so on and so forth. Hold on. Right. So if you have, excuse me. So how Incendiary's Rampage, We Are the Future, and Bug Problem, those are 3 issues. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole sequence of events that can be a thing. That just forever kind of expands and just extra stuff for you guys to take out into conventions and stuff like that we all come together and do. So just an idea, throwing it out there. So those are involved, of course. Obviously, I've messaged them individually and stuff like that. We do have some pretty interesting stuff coming down the pipeline here real soon. Y'all are a mess talking about this man Perman, his goatee and stuff like that. But anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for joining us as we continue to redefine power scaling in indie world. Our next lives following the tournament will be going over the tiers that we will be changing to, as well as the power stats and explaining those. And then I want to make sure that I have the graphic ready with the updated intel for you guys. And then we open the database up probably sometime next month and start getting all those submissions and making those changes. So, with all that being said, thank you all for tuning in. And remember, until next time, everyone, midnight is coming. And we're out.
Bitch, I'm